All week, we've been following the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference as part of our ongoing series, Biotech, the Next Generation. Tonight, I want to introduce you to, yes, a speculative small capitalization vaccine developer, Novavax, symbol NVAX, that's soared higher since the Ebola scare back in October. Novavax has a proprietary recombinant nanoparticular vaccine technology platform that allows them to develop novel vaccines that protect infants, children, and the elderly against a respiratory illness known as RSV, and both seasonal and pandemic varieties of the flu. The company's also got a possible Ebola vaccine that's it's very early stage development. It's about to start phase 1 clinical trials. That's pretty darn rapid given that the strain of Ebola was only sequenced in September. The Ebola linkage has allowed Novavax to rally 50% since the beginning of October, even as I question whether any company can actually commercialize something that's desperately needed for compassionate use. But these guys are a long way from having any products on the market. They don't have any major big pharma partnerships yet either, which makes it very speculative. Still, I think it has a lot of potential. So let's take a closer look with Stanley Erck. He's the president and CEO of Novavax. Find out more about his company and where it is headed. Mr. Erck, welcome to Mad Money.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
All right, sir, I know that the Ebola scare in our country and what the terrible tragedy in West Africa got a lot of people interested in Novavax, but it's really other vaccines that you're working on that would probably be much more commercially viable, right? Isn't that true?
Right. That is true.
And could you tell us which ones are the ones that we should be thinking about commercially?
Yeah, I think investors focus most on the vaccine for RSV. RSV is the largest cause of hospitalization, particularly of children under 1 in the United States. And people have been working on a vaccine for 50 years unsuccessfully. We made a breakthrough a few years ago in the way we make the RSV vaccine antigen that's injected into people. And it turns out our antigen stimulates a very potent immune response uniquely. And we decided, you talked about partners, we decided and made the announcement a couple years ago that we were ahead of the industry by years at least, and that we were not going to partner because it would slow us down.
Wow. Okay. And now I had a flu vaccine, and when I got it, everyone told me, my doctors wanted me to get it, and everyone told me this is the one. And it turns out, well, there's a lot of people I know who had the flu vaccine who got the flu. You're working on something that apparently has a greater success rate?
Yes, well, we're working on a different flu vaccine that uses these, as you pointed out, it uses these recombinant nanoparticles, and we're able to take a couple important proteins on the flu virus and use it in our vaccine. Hopefully, it would allow us to have a more potent vaccine that works across multiple strains.
Now, is that, I was reading an article in the Washington Post about how this year's flu vaccine, they guessed wrong. Yours seems like it would eliminate guesswork.
No, there's two ways that the vaccine doesn't match the actual virus that's circulating. One is the way that most manufacturers have to change the vaccine to grow up in egg cells, makes it different from the circulating flu virus. And ours is made from the actual sequence of the circulating virus. So that allows us to have a more closely matched strain. We can't, if it's actually a wrong call, they make this call in February and tell the manufacturers which strains to use. And if a new strain pops up that starts circulating in the flu season in November or December, there's nothing anybody can do about that with current technology.
All right, now, I know you have you're enrolling a 400-person healthy adults in phase 2 dose-ranging study to test safety and immunogenicity of the seasonal flu. Are you able to tell now how people are doing, or whether they're doing better than others, or is this just one you have to just wait till it concludes?
No, I'm afraid this is one you have to wait for another 3 or 4 months before we figure that out. So
okay.
we go ahead.
Okay, all right. I was actually hoping, of course, like everybody else, that if you really had good results, because both my kids got felled by this stuff. We thought we did everything, and I'll do anything to be sure that this doesn't happen again. Last thing, J&J bought an antiviral franchise that Janssen did something like you guys. Are there other companies that do want to partner? Even though you said you wanted to go it alone, that doesn't necessarily mean that there are other big pharmas that aren't interested in being your partner.
No, I think that's true. There are half a dozen large pharma companies that have large vaccine franchises. And I think everybody, as I mentioned to you, every company that has a vaccine research effort has a project on RSV, for instance, because we think it's going to be the biggest selling vaccine in the history of vaccines. And so everybody's interested in it. And when we get to the point where we've got a product licensed through the FDA, we can talk about having partners, marketing partners, et cetera.
Last question. Ebola, obviously, during September, there was quite a frenzy here, but it's still a terrible disease. Have the companies have you dropped back on that, knowing that it's not as pertinent, or is that just still full speed ahead?
No, it's our technology uniquely allows us to make a vaccine more rapidly than any other technology. 2 years ago, when H7N9, a flu strain, started circulating around China with 50% mortality, we took the gene sequence and turned it in and vaccinated 225 people in 91 days and showed 90% protection. And that was a remarkable result and published in the New England Journal of Medicine. We're doing the same thing with Ebola. We started with the sequence on September 12th. We've now vaccinated 4 different species of animals, showed very potent, robust immune responses, and now are going into what's called a non-human primate challenge study. We'll have data from that in a few weeks.
Wow, that's very exciting. Okay, we want to stay close to your company because your company is very cutting edge. I want to thank you, Stanley Erck, Novavax President and CEO. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, speculative, but obviously we know that Techmira just did something. They look speculative. They don't look speculative anymore. Novavax, do the homework, check the presentation. It's all there before you make a move. Mad Money's back after the break.